The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good morning to everyone again. Let's make sure we see everything we do. Okay, so good morning, everyone. This is presentation 2 for the TopSolid 2021 rollout this week. This presentation is going to be about a new product called TopSolid'Inspection. TopSolid'Inspection is a product for the shop floor to allow you to document which dimensions need to be inspected, how they're going to be inspected, and then allow you to generate a report based on the inspected values. So let's get started. Like always, there's a question section. You can feel free to shoot your questions out there. We'll do our best to answer them either dynamically as we go or at the end of the presentation. So here we go. So TopSolid'Inspection, what is it? It's a software for dimensional measurements and quality reports. It's pretty straightforward to understand. The goal of the solution is quite simple. It's to allow you to save time and limit, hopefully, the number of errors created. How do we do this? We do this by creating control sheets. The control sheets are done based off of either PDFs or images or DWGs or DXF files directly if you have the native data. The goal, again, like I said, is to minimize human mistakes. So how we do that is by capturing the dimensions that you need to inspect, as opposed to you having to re-enter the data in multiple times through multiple systems. We try to capture them in one solution. From there, we export this control sheet to the workshop, and there's a couple of export options we'll talk about here shortly. The digitalization, again, at the shop floor level, you can be measuring from the shop or from the workshop using whatever the measurement tools that are defined within the inspection report. The inspector then writes those values back into the application and they are recorded. They know instantly whether they are within tolerance, over, under, whatever. The goal is, of course, zero paper. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. From there, let's talk about the general workflow of the solution. So it starts with the creation of a project. Okay, so a project is going to basically begin with information about the project. Of course, a drawing is always involved. That drawing is going to come from, again, either a PDF, a DXF, a DWG, a JPEG, a TIFF, whatever. In the creation of the project, you're also setting up how often you're inspecting parts, are the parts serialized, so forth, so on. From there, we create the control sheet. This is where we are basically creating all of the checkpoints for dimensions, diameters, and so on. There is some automatic tolerances that are recognized by the solution so that it can speed up the process of the creation of this step. From here, then, you have an export option. Maybe you just have to identify and then you export this to a company Excel file, PDF, Word file, and that's what you send out to the floor. Or you can link to an ERP at this point. That link is done via an XML document. Or you stay in TopSolid'Inspection and you continue on to the control mode. And control mode is where you can actually enter the inspected data back into the solution. At the workshop level, they can work directly as an ITL project, that is the TopSolid'Inspection file format, or they can control the part by part or in a series of parts. From there, they can control it on a computer or a workshop tablet. Windows tablet only today, no Android or iOS supported. And then lastly, you can analyze the results of that inspection. So you can interpret the measurements done in the workshop. We'll create some graphs for you with indicators for each measurement and so forth. It's actually a pretty cool new solution. So project creation, let's have a look. So in project creation, you can see you're entering your customer name, part number, drawing revision, how many parts you're producing, how many of those parts you're inspecting. Of course, you can include the PO number from your client, the order number, so forth. You then point to the file path of where the document is that you're controlling, right? You can add some descriptions for additional information. Down at the bottom of this image, you see a serial number section. So if your parts have to be serialized, we've given you the ability to capture kind of how that serialization happens dynamically to make it easier again to document. From there, let's talk about the control sheet creation process itself. So now that the project has been created, now we get into the control sheet. When we get into the control sheet, here you see the drawing in the center here. On the left, there's some project information. You might see a picture of the part you're inspecting. Down here is going to be your list of checkpoints that you're controlling. Per checkpoint here, you can modify things. You'll see that shortly. Over here to the right, this shows a greater detail of the tolerances being applied to a specific control point. Okay. Now let's take a look just quickly here at how you capture something. So here you can see we're zooming up, right-clicking, going to dimension selection, and literally you draw a window around it. This creates a balloon. This captures the values. It captures the tolerances, and you're done. It's literally that simple to capture. This is the way you capture it, whether it's a PDF document. If it's a DWG-DXF, you can actually just click directly on the image, or pardon me, on the number. If we look now at the list of checkpoints, as you're creating balloons, these checkpoints are being created. Then you can go through and you can identify and set how that specific dimension is being checked. This one's being checked with a depth gauge, the other one's being checked with a set of calipers, or we're doing it with this piece of equipment or that piece of equipment. Part of the configuration of the solution is, of course, to define all of the different types of equipment you use in your inspection process. Next, let's talk about exporting. So when you export, 2 clicks to export, nice and simple. Again, you export to PDF, Word, Excel, whatever. From there, the document template's ready to use, print to the workshop, off you go. That's solution 1. This is the way a lot of companies work today. Solution 2 is you go zero paper. Now, with zero paper, what does that look like? Well, with zero paper, you now go to TopSolid'Inspection Controller. That's where you're going to enter the data. Again, fully digital system. From the entered data, then you can go to the Inspection Analyst application, and this is where you can analyze all of the controlled data that just came from inspection. Once you have all of that, then you can export the results to your ERP or whatever system you need to export to. Okay, and again, that would be done via an XML document. Now, let's look at what a workshop control document looks like. Comes with 2 options, computer or tablet, again, Windows only. Here you can see we're picking which part we want to inspect on the right, and now which dimension we're checking, okay, or which balloon. From here, that's the dimension it's supposed to be. You're setting that I'm using caliper number 2, and you can see we're setting a dimension, and you see how the color is changing dynamically. Green means you're obviously within tolerance, so the value is good, okay? Orange is caution. You're getting to the upper or lower limit. Red obviously would be bad. You're out of tolerance. Okay. Now, let's keep going. Analyst mode or analyze mode. Analyze mode, once you have the inspected results, you get to see everything clearly in a nice chart. You get a graph showing where all the dimensional values have checked to, so you can see, again, the quality of everything just at a simple click. You can look at, measurement number 4, for example, across all parts. And maybe you're manufacturing 40 parts, and for the 40 parts, you have to inspect every 5th part. Okay, so that's what you're doing. You're checking every 5th part, and you can see across the range of checks where maybe the part's falling out of tolerance, or it's getting in the danger zone of falling out of tolerance, so that you can adequately adjust compensations or whatever in your manufacturing process. Okay. From here, in analyst mode, you also have multiple criteria to view and find specific information. So of course you can search by folder, by projects, etc. But you can also find all parts, for example, that have to be controlled by a non-conform measurement tool. Why not? Okay, or all parts controlled by one specific user. Now, let's get to what everyone's waiting for, a demonstration of this. So, of course, I have a lovely video created, so I will kind of narrate as we go along here. What we're going to try to show you, and this is about a 3-minute video, we're going to try to show you 9 key elements of this solution, from creating the balloons to reporting, tolerances, fittings, instruments to be used, frequencies, and so on. Okay, so dimension measurement by ballooning. Let's check it out. So here we've already got the drawing imported. Okay, and again, formats supported are image files, DWGs, PDFs, obviously DXFs, DWGs. First thing I'm doing is capturing an image. Now we're going to start capturing dimensions. And I think one of you asked how it does with old drawings. If it is confused by them, and let me pause this for a second here. Let me rewind it. If it's confused by what you're ballooning, down here, it always takes a screenshot of the object, and you can tweak whatever it needs to be tweaked to. Okay, so at this point, you can make a modification to it or do all your ballooning first and then come back line by line, because these are a list of all the checkpoints. This one here, if we look, this is a PDF file. So this is just an image that we're pulling from. Let's keep going. So you can see the ballooning process is extremely fast. Next, sorry. I wanted to get back to pause. So here, this one is going to be a little faster because this sample, this is a DXF file. So this is a real drawing file now. So that means there's real geometry on the screen, real text on the screen, real everything. So here it's going to find things just with simple clicks. You don't have to drag windows around anything. The other thing to notice, and let me back up here. I should have made my video so that I could pause it automatically. Notice here, I selected a feature of the part to inspect. There was nothing set to inspect there, but I decided as the operator, I want to have someone inspect that hole as well. So it made a balloon and it measured that hole for me automatically, because again, it's coming from a DXF. All right, let's keep going. So now we want to set up the rest of our inspection. So we're going to balloon a few more things here. We're searching automatic tolerances within the solution as well. In your configuration, there's ways to define things. Here, you have the acronym management as well. Let me, again, pause for a second. Okay. So we have our list of checkpoints, right? What are we analyzing in here? Is it an angle? Is it a run out? Is it a roundness? So forth, so on. You can add to these. I mean, we have the industry standards in there, but of course, maybe you guys do something special so you can analyze them further. You have the standard tolerances that exist out there. You have the standards for quite a lot of this. Okay. And again, what doesn't exist in here, if you have a custom aspect to your process, you can simply add it to your configuration so that it's effortless to grab. Okay, now let's keep going. All right, so now we are creating reports. Okay, these reports are simple templates to send out to the shop floor. Again, this is that Word, Excel file export phase of the process. Or we go into the control section. Okay, so again, you balloon something. This is just showing what it sees when you balloon something. It sees the value, the tolerance, how many parts to be controlled. This is just part of the automated process. All right, so now we get to the workshop. So on the workshop level, there's a couple of things that happen. Okay, this is going to run on a Windows computer or tablet. The whole idea here is when you're on the workshop level, this is it's the same interface, in fact, when it's on the PC. Here, they're putting in their controlled value, okay? So as they measure, they're typing, and they're choosing what the instrument of measurement is. So caliper 3 in that case, why not? And then they keep typing in whatever their values are. Or on the tablet side, and again, you saw this video before, but we'll go through it again. On the tablet side, it's a little bit cleaner interface. And here, again, you're typing in the information, you're using what the instrument is, you're typing in the values. As the values are typed in, the operator is being informed whether or not it's a good within tolerance value, if you're on the upper or the lower limit. If you forgot to enter what the instrument was, it'll come back and yell at you to remind you how to do this. And then from there, we get to the process validation side. And here in the process validation side, it's to analyze the results of all the measurements. So here we're analyzing, we can tell whether something is in tolerance, out of tolerance, again, towards the upper or the lower limits. And then you can see over the length of all parts that are analyzed, how the measurements varied throughout your process. Okay. Now, let's continue on here. There's just a few more points. So, licensing. How is licensing done for this product? There are 2 licenses for this project. Okay, the license number is not so important, but there's inspection base. The inspection base is where you set up the project and you do your ballooning and set up the control points. You set up the equipment that is being used. You define everything. Then you have another product, controller and analyst, which is for the workshop. And the controller and analyst is going to allow you to do the measurements and then analyze the measurements. The reason it's divided into 2 different licenses is because some companies may only want the base level of this because then they want to pass this information into whatever their current process is. If they want to go paperless, then you go and add controller and analyst mode for the actual workshop level. Now, from here, we also have a full training course that's part of our new online training program available. We estimate it's going to be delivered in 2 4-hour sessions. Should be enough to understand how to use this solution. Complete training guide is to be delivered during training to those who attend the training, and it covers use and customization of the solution. It's pretty straightforward to learn how to use and to configure. It's a great new product. The interface is done with ERPs or CAPE systems. It's an XML document, okay? It's a pretty standard way of interfacing with ERP solutions. You export it in an XML format. The XML project can then be created on the ERP side. Usually the ERP side has ways to filter and read XML data in, okay? Okay, so I see there are some questions there, and I believe my buddy Joe has been trying his best to answer all of them. I'm just going to have a quick look through them. If any of you have any other questions, feel free to shoot them out right away.
Bill, do you know the templates? Adam asked if they will configure the KPI metrics. Is that one of the delivered templates?
Let's figure KPI metrics. I'm not sure what KPI metrics are to answer that question. So, Adam, we might have to circle back to you on that one, unless you can give a brief description in the question bar of what specifically that is. The next one, I saw that one. Does TopSolid own the underlying software technology? Is this integration of third-party software? No, this is completely a TopSolid product. It was made by a company that we purchased last year. So we now own it 100%. How do we go about referencing a specification or engineering note? In fact, you can balloon anything. It doesn't have to be just a dimension. You can balloon an engineering note and off you go. Okay, and then you can specify that has to, that it basically targets that note and brings it to that. If there's nothing on the print already, you can balloon something that's not there and just make a label for it. Okay. Is there a date and timestamp when it was checked? I believe the answer is yes on that. If you're using the digital system, yes, there's a date and time that it is checked. And if you're using the digital system, it also is tracking then the user that did the inspection, which also is a nice thing. All right. So as far as what is planned for the future, I would say tighter integration within the TopSolid family of products. Currently, it is not linked to TopSolid in any way. So the goal would be to be able to pass directly from TopSolid into inspection in the future. Okay, so this way you would have access to it either through our web explorer or through any of the other TopSolid products in a single click. Today, you would have to either export as a PDF first or as a DXF DWG, then you import that file in. So step one of this was to purchase this company, bring it into the TopSolid group. Step two now is over the coming years to more tightly integrate things together. Okie dokie. What was the company called before TopSolid acquired it? I don't know the answer to that. Sorry. So now, for those of you that are interested in learning more about this, let us know. We're happy to do one-on-one demonstrations with you guys, let you have a more in-depth look at it or do a live presentation of the solution with you. Again, today's webinar is meant to just inform you of the new product. It exists, it's available today, and it's ready to roll out. So hopefully we'll be talking to you guys soon and deploying this in all of your companies. So with that, I think we're at a good stopping point. So I appreciate you guys again all checking in. The next webinar is planned for after lunch, I believe. So that one's going to be in TopSolid CAM, and there is a lot of cool things to learn about in TopSolid CAM. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. Again, thank you for those of you who attended live today. We appreciate it. And we'll see you all in the next webinar.